Thursday.
Well, the best way, of course, to fight the pandemic and allow all of us to take off our masks is vaccinating everybody. Without the shots, we don't get to herd immunity. And according to the New York Times, experts, including Dr. Anthony Fauci, think we may never get there. Instead, they project that the virus will circulate for years as a smaller, more manageable threat. Their chief concern is vaccination rates too low for the U.S. to reach herd immunity. Let's talk more about that issue and other issues with Dr. Nina Shapiro from UCLA School of Medicine, also the author of a book called Hype about medical myths. More on that a little bit later. But Dr. Shapiro, let's begin with this issue of herd immunity. What do we need to get there, and why are we not getting there?
So for coronavirus, we need to get about 70 to 80% of people vaccinated, and we are seeing that that is unlikely to happen. Now, I don't want this to be a discouragement and for people to say, well, if vaccines aren't really going to do anything, we're not going to get to herd immunity, why bother? And that is far from the case. We still want to continue to advocate for vaccines as much as possible. But it is true that if we have 40 to 50% of people who will not get vaccinated, we will not reach herd immunity. Things will get better, but it will probably ebb and flow, and we may have seasons where it's worse than others. There may be surges that pop up here and there, and we may be living through, sort of through a coronavirus world going forward.
Is there any way to turn the tide on that so that we can at least get closer to herd immunity?
Well, I think we are getting closer. We're already seeing such enormous improvement over the past few months just from all the vaccines. So over 50% of people have had at least one vaccine, and we're seeing dramatic improvements all across the country, certainly not everywhere, but we can already see how vaccines are helping. So we will get close. The way to get there is to have better education, better information, more accurate information. You know that I'm a big myth buster and a big vaccine advocate, and to really provide people with good information. I think that, the spin is out there. People are getting bad information when it comes to the vaccines, inaccurate information, and that's how the rates are going down.
Well, one group that has not been able to get vaccinated so far is most teenagers. But now we get reports that it looks like Pfizer is going to be approved for giving the vaccine out from those ages 12 to 15. Bust out the myths. What do we need to know? What do parents need to know about this?
So any parent of a young teenager, myself included, we are rejoicing with this information. The studies were done quite a while ago. They looked at 2,200 children ages 12 to 15, and half of them received the vaccine, half of them received the placebo. 0 children in the vaccine group got coronavirus, and about 18 people in the placebo part, so in the non-vaccine part, got coronavirus during that period. The side effects were very similar to the side effects we see in 16 to 25-year-olds, and no major issues from it, and it worked. So we are so excited. We are still seeing coronavirus cases in youth sports. That's one of the biggest spots that we're seeing them now. Basketball, volleyball, soccer, all the teams are sort of popping up with cases still. So this is incredible news, especially as we head into the summer.
Yeah, and we are waiting to hear for the green light from FDA, from the Federal Drug Administration, then also the CDC, and that news could come as early as next week, if not sooner. And I know LA County says it's ready to go. Pfizer is there and ready for those 12 to 15-year-olds.
But we're seeing every indication is that they are going to give the green light, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I really
with a big smile.
They will.
Okay.
All right. Well, what about the concerning trends that we're seeing in other states? Oregon, Washington, they're seeing spikes in coronavirus. How does that affect us here? Because people can travel.
Right, people can travel, and Oregon has done, and Washington State have done an amazing job throughout all of this. They were hit early, they closed early, they've been giving vaccines, but these variants are very powerful. They're more powerful than not getting vaccinated. They're very transmissible, so it's much easier to get coronavirus with these variants. And there's still, because we don't have herd immunity, and there's still sort of gaps in the vaccine program, we're seeing more of these cases pop up. And once it pops up, it just surges very quickly.
Well, and there was an interesting map in the New York Times this morning we want to put on the screen. This is, the deep purple is 90% plus to get vaccinated, and lavender is 80 to 70, white fewer than 50% willing to get the vaccine. It looks a whole lot like the Electoral College map, not to get too political, but this basically looks like the red-blue breakdown of the country. You know, what does that tell you, Dr. Nina? And should we be concerned that, okay, here in California, we're among the deepest purple there. We're getting our vaccines. Our rates are low. Our hospitalizations are low. But are we still going to have to wear masks all year because people in other states are, you know, some would say being selfish and not taking the vaccine?
Well, isn't that the case? There's always somebody who ruins it for somebody else, for all of us who do the right thing. So, you know, we're a country that likes to move around, and people like to move around. And unfortunately, vaccines have been politicized from the get-go, and this has continued to be the issue. So will we have to wear masks because of others? Well, you know, the CDC is saying that if you are vaccinated and you are outdoors, even if other people are not vaccinated, you don't necessarily need to wear a mask. And I think we've mentioned before that we don't know who's vaccinated when it comes to not wearing a mask. We hope that people will be honest about that and really stick to it. But I think that, you know, it will likely, unfortunately, you know, hey, Disneyland is open. And it's open to California right now, but it's going to be open to everybody. And people love Disneyland, and they're going to come here this summer, and hopefully the people who come here will be vaccinated.
Hopefully it's the happiest and healthiest place on earth. Dr. Nina Shapiro, we thank you so much as always. And as mentioned, her book, Hype, it is called Hype, A Doctor's Guide to Medical Myths, that is available in paperback now. Dr. Nina, thank you.
Thank you.
Still to come, this really came as a shock to a lot of people today. Bill and Melinda Gates